All right, Mike Watkins, HurricaneTrack.com, HurricaneAnalytics.com with an afternoon update on Dorian. It's weakened to 110 miles per hour, but that's kind of, I mean, everybody knows that who's watching this video already. Let's talk about the big concerns that we have now. This is a map of the track expected from all the models after today's run. The official forecast is somewhere in the middle of there too. That's kind of good news from Florida, at least based on these models. None of the reliable models take it into Florida or Georgia. And then once you get close here to South Carolina, then you've got a close pass with some of them. Another real close pass up here in Wilmington, and then the Outer Banks might get anywhere from a glancing blow to a direct hit, depending on how things shake out. But the winds are down to 110 miles per hour, and I think the biggest story now is going to shift away from the biggest winds, but toward the surge threat that's coming to the United States, and especially up in the Carolinas. So as the storm is continuing to move to the northwest, the winds in front of it are going to be blowing like this, which pushes a lot of water up into the corner, in some of these areas like Jacksonville, and anything that's kind of running perpendicular to that flow. So even though the storm is going to pass to the west, or to the east of these coasts, probably we're still going to have this long, sustained 2, 3, 4 day period of winds onshore off, and that's just going to pile the water up because it's already pushing water up. I mean, we're in the south, we're down here where I live, and I'm seeing flooding in the intercoastal from the storm. So, and then once you kind of get to the point where you're in the right front quadrant of the storm, when it starts to make this turn, then you're really looking at an elevated surge concern here, and certainly up through Wilmington and the Outer Banks. And we've all, anyone who's lived in North Carolina knows what that's like. So I want to go to the storm surge page from the National Hurricane Center, of course. Right now, this is the inundation chart as of this morning's advisory. Whoops. This interface is not always my favorite. Thought I had it. But, all right, this shows where we have potential storm surge flooding of 1 feet or so as you get around, and a couple places along the coast here, 3 feet on the Florida coast. But for the most part, it's going to be more of the surge won't be so high, but it's going to be a longer duration situation. But then once you get close to and just south of Myrtle Beach, now you're talking about potentially surge over 6 feet up in this area here. And then as we go up to Wilmington, you're still seeing some of those 6 feet points. And then once you get out to the Outer Banks, you've got a little bit of that as you get up here in the bays and the inlets way up out of away from the coast where the water piles up anyway, between the water coming downhill from the terrain and where it meets the ocean. Looking at 6, and I think these values, as the storm continues to get closer, are probably going to go up, because at the moment the surge warning pretty much ends in South Carolina, but it's going to be extended northward as the hurricane continues to move on this current track. So that obviously has triggered some evacuations. I'm sure those are going to continue, because the timing is really, you got about 2 days before the storm is going to be close and the surge would be starting to affect some part of the southeast United States, and then that's going to take a couple of days to clear out. So, so that's what we're going to be watching, I think, because the winds are important, and it might regain Category 3 status, might get even a little bit stronger than that. But the fact that the storm is spread out now with Dorian and the way it's going to come by, and people who've seen hurricanes go by on this path, Matthew a couple years ago, and do a ton of surge, put a ton of surge in, even if they aren't so strong. Now we're talking about a pretty strong hurricane that's capable of putting a lot of water up in there. So that's the biggest concern. We need to watch that very closely, and we'll continue to update that here as we get into tomorrow. Thanks for watching the update. I'll talk to you later.